We have about 10 minutes for discussion, questions, answers, whatever you would like to do. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for this great presentation on the research. Dr. Mangione, I wanted to thank you first for sharing the research questions. They were very helpful. Although I don't do developmental research, it's really a nice approach to kind of think about it. But what you talked about earlier about the contentions between research and outcomes, and along with what Dr. Ropestroff said about not letting the research kill what you're doing. So my concern is that we're so focused on outcomes that we're missing the benefits of the here and now experience of Anji Play for Children. And so how can we convince, policymakers and journal publishers and all those people that the benefit is in the here and now, right? That this experience, even if we can't prove the outcomes are not statistically significant 10 years from now, but the benefit is this experience right now, that this here and now. What are your thoughts about research around that to kind of show that the time that they had was worthwhile because they had it and because it was good for them, even if, they're not more creative down the line or they're not more, better problem solvers, which I think they are, but even if they're not.
I'll start and then you can join. And that's why I posed it as a provocation. I feel that it's a risk to go down this path of saying how do we provide proof or demonstrate through research the benefits of this work long term versus that there's a value in children having the freedom to do what they're doing now and they're capable of doing, and that's all that really matters in life, and that's what we should be focused on. And I think we're in a world in which we could do a lot more work as you're suggesting. I think we can do a lot more to help people have the experience that all of us have had through our visits to Anji to see the kindergartens, that we don't need any more evidence to know the value of what Anji Play provides and what returning the right of play to children means for them. We just don't. But can we replicate the experience that we've had here for people in other places so that they get it, how important the here and now is? And are we still going to have to relate to a world of policy where they need outcomes in? Is there a space we can work in? And I don't know the answer to this. I really don't. I wonder about it. Is there a space we can work in where we don't unravel the weaving, we keep it whole, and can show some benefits?
This is it's a great question, and I can only get at it from a research point of view. So we see kind of a change in the research field about how researchers relate to experience and the importance of experience. For a long time, the idea was that whatever goes on in experience is subjective and cannot be shared with others. But I think people are increasingly becoming aware that maybe the prime function of consciousness has to do with being able to share experiences. And that actually critical to make better decisions together is to have practices that allows for sharing experiences. So from my perspective, from a research perspective, a lot of that has to do with developing tools for documenting and for sharing what is it like to have an experience. And what we see again and again is once that is out there, then there is something for people to connect to. And then, in a sense, just like play can do its thing, shared experience can do their thing as well.
Your presentation are very inspiration. I want to have the opportunity to ask each of you a question, but I think the time is limited. So I choose my question to the Russian colleague, Ligula Vilaksa. Yeah, I heard that there has a primary school that Vygotsky's daughter and his son-in-law, they built a primary school in Moscow. Maybe I'm not quite sure, and they said that we maybe misunderstand Vygotsky's theory. That we just analysis the play, use his conception, but the key ideas of Vygotsky is that make the children performance. And I heard there has psychology named performance psychology. Can you candidly introduce some of that?
Yes,
I'm sorry, maybe it's...
I understand the question. For example, in the United States exists Professor Holman, which use the performance for teenagers, which have a social behavior. The idea of performance consists that one teenager starts to play a role. He or she discovers possibility to find social way of behavior. In this case, if we say to the role play with the child of early years, for example, we may say that, as says Elkonin in the play, it says Vygotsky, the child is above himself, because the play permits to find new motivation for the child to find the, to find the understanding of reasoning of adults. But what I would like to say, that NG play permits to resolve very strong problem. Every path of development, according to Vygotsky, suppose that exists as well path in the development of natural, and natural transforms into the cultural. In this way, we found here in NG play positive understanding of natural part of the mind of the child. So if we will look at the child behavior, for example, we will see that if we may measure exactly which properties or which goals or which problems child can resolve in the investigation, in the research, in the discovery of during the NG play, if we will find, for example, I have seen how the child discover independent variants to use the balls or other thinking. It's the process of modeling, of investigation. There are only one goal, to help the child use it in the next path of development in the future at school. That's my opinion.
Thank you. 我用中文稍微说几句吧。其实我自己是有答案的，就是在安吉游戏这儿，我觉得是创造了一个孩子的，就是他可以展演出来的。可能大家
created a platform for child to perform, because there is a performance psychology in the world. We need to allow the children to perform, and I believe Anji actually created such a culture that can exemplify exemplify the relationship.
We have time for one more question, I think, Bill.
All of these insights are directly and urgently transferable to contemporary parenting outside the school, I think. My question to the professor is, how controversial is this model with Chinese parents? Because I think, in all of China, because I think if this can truly be expanded, then there's great potential for the rest of the world to look at this and see how possible it is, because we have a perception of Chinese education as being very, well, we have cliches that we associate with it. So my question is, what possibility is there for this to truly become a national model of practice in childhood education? And how do we get parents to love it as much as we do?
I think for this question, Professor Hua or Feng probably would be able to answer this question better. I think the teachers in China know that now we've already got a lot of regions that started the practices of Anji play to some extent. In Zhejiang province, we have 103 pilot kindergartens. Outside Zhejiang province, there are also some other kindergartens doing so. But what I would like to point out is that for those kindergartens practicing Anji play, there are also some variations. Some kindergartens are in line with Anji play, while some other kindergartens are not really practicing very well or are in a very early stage.
Been well exported outside Anji. In Zhejiang province, there have been 103 Anji play experimental kindergartens. It is also spread out to many other cities and regions across China. The application of Anji play is quite uneven. Some kindergartens have done a good job of using Anji tools, environmental philosophy, but others are only starting.
我想在这个过程当中，可能需要很多的这样一种工作，既需要我们学前教育领域的这样一些工作人员，其实也需要学前教育领域以外的一些人员，包括一些我们的新闻媒体，因为实际上如果我们有一个对儿童比较友好，我们有一个整个一个大的比较尊重儿童的这样一种氛围，我想安吉游戏的这样一种推广可能就不是问题。 但如果我们没有这样一种氛围，我想这可能就是一个很大的问题。我想我们教育部每年都会组织学前教育宣传月，那也是想在一定程度上起到这样的作用。我想好几次的这个学前教育宣传月的主题，其实都是跟游戏相关的。
I believe to really create an enabling environment for Anji play. Not just preschool educators need to work hard, we need to influence the wider ecosystem, including the media. If we have the macro environment, putting children at the center and truly show respect for children, we will be more successful. If we don't have the macro environment, it will be much more difficult for us. That is why the Education Ministry of China opened an education week for preschool philosophies across the country. And many of the themes of this preschool education week is related to play.